The two hosts / one message. Today we're leaning into a question that many admire, but few answer honestly. What does it really cost to follow Jesus? In Matthew chapter 8, two men boldly say, "Lord, I will follow you." But Jesus responds in a way that strips away emotion, comfort, and delay. He makes it clear, crowds are not the goal. Commitment is. So before we dive in, ask yourself, are you a fan, an admirer, or a disciple? Let's talk about the cost of following Jesus.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Two Hosts, One Message.
Huh?
And it is Sunday, March 1st, 2026.
Can you believe we're already in March? It feels like the year just started.
I really can't. It's flying by. But, looking at the material we've got in front of us today, the timing actually feels perfect.
Oh, it really does, because the month of March calls us to walk with Jesus, examining his life, teachings, and the cost of discipleship as we move toward the cross.
Yeah, that long, steady trudge toward Jerusalem. And today we are unpacking some really fascinating and, frankly, kind of challenging notes from Dr. James Dargan.
Right. We're looking at his specific analysis of Matthew chapter 8, verses 18 through 22. It's all about the cost of following Jesus.
And what struck me reading through Dr. James Dargan's notes last night is just how totally relevant this is to our culture right now. I mean, think about how we treat commitment today. We live in this era of the subscription model.
Oh, yeah. Everything is a subscription. Coffee, entertainment, fitness apps.
Exactly. And psychologically, we're conditioned for these really low-stakes commitments. You sign up for a gym membership in January, you go maybe twice, and then you just cancel it.
Right. Or you follow an influencer, get bored 2 days later, and unfollow.
Yeah. We start a diet, it gets hard by Tuesday, and we quit by Wednesday. We have this culture of very high initial enthusiasm, but basically zero follow-through.
And that is exactly the central tension Dr. James Dargan points out right out of the gate. He argues that our modern world runs on these easily broken yeses, but Jesus operates on a completely different economy.
He's definitely not looking for subscribers.
No, he's not. He demands something that completely upends how we think about joining a movement. So our mission today is to really unpack that difference. We're going to walk through Dr. James Dargan's distinction between a fan and a disciple.
And we're going to wrestle with his ultimate question for you, the listener. Are you drawn to Jesus' hand, which is what he gives, or Jesus' heart, who he actually is?
It's a heavy question. But to get there, we really need to set the scene in Matthew 8.
Yeah, paint the picture for us.
So Jesus is surrounded by these great multitudes. His popularity is absolutely peaking. Miracles are happening everywhere. The teaching is going viral, basically.
If you're a modern campaign manager...
Oh, you are scaling up.
Right. You capitalize on that momentum. You sell the merch. You build the email list.
Exactly. You do not leave the party when you are the guest of honor. But the text says that when Jesus saw the crowds, he gave a command to depart to the other side of the sea.
He moves away from the mass appeal.
He creates distance, which is a terrible business move, but right as he's trying to leave, we meet our first character. The text calls him a certain scribe.
And we should pause here because Dr. James Dargan highlights something crucial about that title. A scribe wasn't just a guy taking notes.
No, these were the educated elite, the lawyers, the theologians. They had immense social capital. So for a scribe to walk up to an itinerant, homeless rabbi like Jesus...
It's a massive deal.
It's a huge step down socially, but a big step up in risk.
And his offer sounds incredible. He literally says, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go." I mean, if I'm leading an organization and a Harvard-educated guy walks up with a blank check saying, "I'm all in," I am thrilled.
It sounds like the absolute dream convert. It's bold, enthusiastic, but Dr. James Dargan labels the specific interaction the illusion of enthusiasm.
The illusion? Why? I mean, the guy seems perfectly sincere.
Sincere, sure. But Dr. James Dargan argues that he has shallow roots. The scribe has seen the miracles. He's caught up in the energy of this huge movement. But there's a sharp distinction here. Enthusiasm is an emotion. Commitment is a decision.
So the scribe is just riding the emotional high.
Exactly. And look at Jesus' response. He doesn't say, great, grab a vest, welcome to the team. He gives this incredibly stark, almost poetic reality check. He says, foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head.
It is such a jarring response to a compliment. It almost feels like a rejection.
Dr. James Dargan explains that it's not a rejection of the person, it's a reality check on the offer. Jesus is basically saying, you say you'll follow me wherever, okay, but do you realize wherever means nowhere?
He's completely stripping away the glamour of the movement.
He is. He's clarifying that discipleship involves profound physical and social discomfort. Animals have security. They have habitats. Jesus is saying, I don't fit here. And if you follow me, you aren't going to fit here either.
There's no luxury hotel waiting for you across the sea.
No.
Yeah.
And Dr. James Dargan uses this fantastic analogy. He compares it to someone saying, I want to join the military.
Because they saw the movie.
Right. They like the dress blues, they see the commercial with the sword and the parade, and they fall in love with the idea of being a soldier, but they have absolutely no concept of boot camp.
They aren't thinking about the mud or the sleep deprivation or the discipline.
Right. You can't just want the glory. You have to be ready for the grind. And that's Dr. James Dargan's first big takeaway. Emotional hype does not equal spiritual readiness.
So that is the first danger. The scribe who is way too quick to say yes because he doesn't understand the price. But then we meet the second character. And honestly, this one bothers me a lot more than the first one.
The hesitant disciple.
Yeah. The text calls him another of his disciples. And this man says, Lord, let me first go and bury my father. Now, to any modern listener, that sounds completely responsible.
It does. It sounds like, hey, I'm with you, but I have a family tragedy to handle. I'll be right there.
But Jesus gives an answer that just sounds incredibly callous. He says, follow me and let the dead bury their own dead. I mean, is Jesus saying we shouldn't care about our families?
This is where Dr. James Dargan provides some vital historical context that changes everything. If we don't get the first century Jewish culture right, we completely misunderstand Jesus here.
Okay, so what are we missing?
Dr. James Dargan explains that in that culture, burial was immediate. If the father had died that morning, the son wouldn't be out in a crowd debating theology. He would be at home mourning.
So the father isn't dead yet?
Most likely not. Dr. James Dargan suggests the father is aging, maybe sick, but still very much alive. The son is essentially saying, let me wait until my father eventually passes away, until I settle the estate and get my inheritance. Once that's all neatly wrapped up, then I'll follow you.
Oh, wow. That completely shifts the meaning. It's not, I have a funeral today. It's, I need to wait until the conditions in my life are perfect.
Exactly. It's a request for an indefinite delay. He's saying, Lord, you are important, but you are second. My family obligations, my financial security, that comes first.
It's procrastination disguised as piety. He's using a good thing to excuse himself from the best thing.
That's a great way to put it. And that is why Jesus' response is so sharp. Dr. James Dargan interprets, let the dead bury their own dead, to mean, let the spiritually dead handle those routine earthly matters. You are called to the kingdom, and that calling is right now.
And Dr. James Dargan connects this directly to us today, because we do the exact same thing. We say, I'll serve God when I retire.
Or when the kids are older, or when life slows down.
But life never slows down.
Never. There is always another obligation. Jesus demands immediate obedience. If you wait for the perfect conditions to follow him, you never will.
Okay, so we have these two extremes. The scribe who is all emotion and no depth, and the disciple who is all excuse and no action.
Right, and sandwiched right in between them is the true definition of discipleship. Dr. James Dargan actually breaks this down into a taxonomy of faith, a whole spectrum of the people surrounding Jesus.
I love a good categorization. Let's walk through these. He starts with the fan.
Right. Dr. James Dargan defines a fan, or fanatic, as someone who is emotionally enthusiastic but not necessarily committed.
That's our scribe.
Yes. They want the jersey, they want the excitement, but they don't want the practice. Then he lists the admirer.
How is that different from a fan?
The admirer is someone who appreciates and respects from a distance, but does not surrender or follow. They might say, Jesus was a great moral teacher.
So the fan is about hype, and the admirer is about intellectual respect.
Exactly. But neither of them surrenders control. They don't let the teaching change their life. So then we move to the follower. Dr. James Dargan defines a follower as someone who chooses to go in the same direction and align their life with another.
That's a big step up. They're actually on the path.
They are. But the ultimate goal is the fourth category, the disciple. Dr. James Dargan defines a disciple as a committed learner and obedient student who follows, submits to, and becomes like their teacher.
That word submits is the friction point for us, isn't it?
It implies a total loss of autonomy. But Dr. James Dargan says we have to make the specific transition, and he has this core maxim in his notes that is just brilliant. He writes, Jesus does not beg, he invites, he does not sugarcoat, he clarifies.
He clarifies, because modern marketing hides the fine print, right? Just sign here, it's easy.
But Jesus puts the fine print in the headline. He wants you to know exactly what you're signing up for. Dr. James Dargan puts it like this. He wants not fans, but followers, not admirers, but disciples.
He wants people who won't quit when it gets hard. And we need to talk about that cost. Dr. James Dargan is very explicit in this section about the cost versus the reward.
True discipleship is costly. It might cost you popularity, friendships, your treasured habits. He even cites Matthew 16:24 about denying yourself and taking up your cross.
In Matthew 10:37, he who loves father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. That is intense.
It's total allegiance. But Dr. James Dargan doesn't just leave us with the heavy burden. If it's just cost, it's masochism. But he frames it as an eternal investment.
You give up the temporary security, the holes and nests for a kingdom that can't be shaken.
Exactly. He writes, discipleship is costly, but the reward is eternal. He even references that old hymn, I'm glad I counted the cost, about laying your sorrows at Jesus' feet and obtaining the prize.
Which brings us to the absolute core of this whole message. The final question Dr. James Dargan poses to test our sincerity.
The hand versus the heart.
Right. He asks, are you drawn to Jesus' hand, which is what he gives, or Jesus' heart, who he is?
Seeking the hand is a transactional relationship. You're looking for the blessings, the security, the answered prayers. It's treating God like a vending machine.
And seeking the heart.
That's seeking Jesus for relationship and character. It's trusting him even when the hand isn't giving you what you want. When the perks of Christianity disappear, would you still follow?
That stops you in your tracks.
The early disciples faced persecution and martyrdom, but they followed the heart. They found Jesus himself to be enough.
This has been an incredible look at these verses. So to summarize Dr. James Dargan today, emotional hype doesn't equal spiritual readiness. You can be cheering in the stands, but if you aren't on the field, you aren't a disciple.
And Jesus demands total commitment above our comfort and even our family obligations.
So here is the call to action from Dr. James Dargan's note. She says, follow me, not tomorrow, not later, but now.
No more waiting to bury the Father, just follow me.
As we wrap up this Two Hosts, One Message, we want to leave you with one final provocative thought from Dr. James Dargan.
Since Jesus never begged anyone to follow him, but simply laid out the truth and let them decide, where do you actually stand on that spectrum today? Are you a fan, an admirer, or a disciple?
A question definitely worth wrestling with. Thanks for joining us with the Two Hosts, One Message. We'll see you next time.
This has been Two Hosts, One Message. Remember, Jesus is not looking for fans. He is forming disciples. Count the cost, surrender the timeline, and follow him. Not just for what he gives, but for who he is. Before we go, don't forget, new episodes drop every Wednesday. Catch up on seasons 1 and 2 on YouTube at CCOGNYC or on Facebook at Congregational Church of God, NYC. And follow us so you never miss a message that challenges and changes you. I'm Brother Gabriel Veritas. Stay bold, stay surrendered. Not fans, disciples. We'll see you at the next level.